The trial against the former Prime Minister of Ukraine, Yulia Tymoshenko, was started on June 24th this year. The district court in the center of Kyiv, the public prosecution office that is controlled by the president Yanukovych, is accusing Tymoshenko of abuse of power about gas supply and its transit to Europe. The case is handled by the judge Rodion Kireyev. He's 31 and he started his career just 2 years ago in a small town and dealt with trivial criminal and administrative cases. Kireyev was transferred to the Pechersky district court by the order of the president 2 months against Yulia Tymoshenko. The trial started in the conditions which the ambassador of the European Union, José Manuel Pinto Teixeira, called law. Trials in Ukraine are open. However, numbers of people who wanted to attend this particular one didn't manage to get into the courtroom. There is only 40 square meters in there. The clothes of the people were soaked in sweat. I was lucky to stand near the open window. I wanted to thank the judge, otherwise I would have got to hospital due to dehydration. The defense lawyer of Yulia Tymoshenko addressed the judge with the request to get that the National Union of Writers was ready to give. There are so many people in the room that it's impossible to breathe. It's overcrowded. I am asking the judge to have the trial in the courtroom that is more than 2,000 square meters. It's suitable for conferences and congresses for approximately... The judge refused to change the room. The trial was held in the same conditions. The events in the street were also hard. Yulia Tymoshenko is the most popular politician in the opposition. The Ukrainians are going out for demonstrations to support her. However, the militia position.
Захистити можливість говорити правду. Ми можливість дати можливість говорити правду. Як в цьому суді. Нашу міліцію. Як в суді. Так.
The main point of the trial is regarded. The public prosecution office claims about the criminal offenses of Yulia Tymoshenko, but she and her lawyers are sure that it is an ordered political persecution.
To create a positive image of an effective leader who managed to solve the problem of the gas crisis with Russia and at the same breath to prove her earlier state of the intermediary company Rosukrenergo from the market, Tymoshenko decided to accept unprofitable conditions for Ukraine and at all costs, even by abuse made between Naftogaz of Ukraine and Gazprom.
The court cannot clarify the point of the accusation of Tymoshenko. What definition of crime, in what acts or inactivity? The court is at the dead end, so is the public prosecution office. It's because at the stage of the pre-trial office didn't manage to announce the definition of the crime. The problem is that the criminal law got into unnatural sphere that's not proper to it, the sphere.
In this court, the only aim of the prosecutors and the judge is not to give me a chance to say a word in my defamation to people who watch this reprisal on TV. That's why I am interrupted by the judge or the prosecutors at my every word. All this was administration. The trial is being carried out just with the political aim, and this aim is to eliminate the opposition, which is very active in Ukraine.
During the proceedings, the lawyers of Tymoshenko don't have any opportunity to get ready properly for the hearings. The judge Kireyev gave them only 3 days of the case. As a result of bad fatigue, one of the lawyers, Mykola Tatarenko, couldn't participate in the trial. I'm exhausted. I'll give the professional legal help to my client due to my health condition. Mykola Tatarenko felt bad and an ambulance was called. The lawyer was helped to the car. Serious pain in his chest. He was injected with some medicaments and was urgently hospitalized to the cardiology department. The defense of Tymoshenko is, we see the militia prevent the lawyers from getting to their working place by the order of the judge. Moreover, the judge didn't allow Tymoshenko to invite foreign the defendant of her 2 lawyers. One of them, Serhiy Vlasenko, was made to leave the courtroom. The judge is to rush through the case and to pass sentence. All prosecutors are invited and everything is done in order to hear the case without any evidence as soon as possible. Yulia Tymoshenko herself was made to lead. Representative of the Public Prosecution Office announced the accusation in her absence, contrary to the law. People clad in similar uniform appeared in. They called themselves representatives of the public organization Tymoshenko Must Stand Trial. These people are supported by the militia. They can. One morning, after they opened the courtroom, which is guarded 24 hours a day, the deputies of the Yulia Tymoshenko block found these people inside. One of the men made of the organization Tymoshenko Must Stand Trial are hired. At night, the representatives of the party in power took them to the court by militia. At 4 o'clock a.m. we were taken here from the Party of Regions district head office through the back door. We were told to sit quietly, and then were asked any questions we had to answer, that we were organization Yulia must go behind bars or something. At 6 o'clock we were locked inside, toilet, because the doors would be closed till opening of the court. Some time later, the men started appearing in the courtroom clad in T-shirts with offensive writing support Yulia Tymoshenko. One of the former coordinators of the organization, Pavlo Tsilovalnikov, who decided to quit such an activity, talked more precisely. Pavlo showed the journalists printed materials tarnishing the reputation of the opposition leader and her supporters, and the faked journalist by the members of the so-called public organization. Pavlo added that it's all run and sponsored by the Party of Regions. His companions planned a bloody provocation. A provocative action is being prepared. It was told to find a man who in advance, just one day before, the deputies of the Yulia Tymoshenko bloc will be organized. All this is done by our provocators. And then it will be used for addressing the public prosecution, the request to deprive the deputies of their immunity, to discredit them. It is to be the reason not to let the deputies into the courtroom. The judge, Kireev, started a new illegal out of the courtroom. He also makes the deputies of the parliament leave the court. The Ukrainian law guarantees them the immunity, but the militia for deputy Mikhailo Kosev, a famous dissident and a political prisoner of the Soviet times, was the first who was made to leave by the judge. I stood trials in the Soviet courts for anti-Soviet propaganda and agitation because me and Vyacheslav Chornovil published an underground magazine. The Soviet judges acted. To my shame, I must admit that they were 100-fold more correct than you. The militia didn't dare to force Mikhailo Kosev out. However, the deputy left the room himself because he was taken to hospital right from the court. The next deputy, which the judge decided to sack, was Yevhen Sustrum, so Kireev ordered the militia to force him out. The deputies and the journalists were victims of the militia subdivisions. They were just the television equipment was damaged.
Женя, ни хрена! С какой стати я работаю?
Дай пройти.
Вниз, Андрон, давай вниз, вниз.
Вниз, тобто ви будете скидувати нас?
В залі суду була спроба.
There was an attempt of the militia subdivisions, Berkut and Grifon, to storm the room. First they asked the journalists to leave the courtroom. It was not filmed. When the journalists refused to leave because there weren't any legal grounds for this, the militia started the real storm. They physically broke cameras and people. All that took place in the Pechersky court. It's a shame. During the authoritarian regime, which used to be here just some years ago, happened. The militia didn't react to the complaints of the journalists about the illegal obstruction to their professional activity and the material damages. This, in the Pechersky court, became a usual thing.
Я народный депутат, куда ты меня тянешь? Я вас не трогаю. Тихо, будь ласка, ведите. Тебя выталкивают.
These materials were filmed with cameras of cell phones because the judge, under different excuses, has been banning any video and photo filming.
Вот.